Good morning, Aztecs. I hope you guys are having a great winter break. I hope that you'll enjoy the CADvent that Landon's putting on this year. It's going to be a lot of fun, and CAD really is a great time. Really cool. Good job to all of you guys who submitted yesterday. Your submissions look awesome. So nice work. But today, in preparation of day two, we've got some sort of. I want to show you guys some new tools. Some Onshape's always full of features. And it's really nice because you can get started easily, but start learning and adding more to what you're doing as you're going. So today I'm going to be going over two tools and two different types of things. One is a linear pattern and then also construction geometry. And we're going to do that by making a pizza. And I want to show you guys a little bit about my pizza. So my pizza, I'm going to get started. I'm going to make on the top plane. If we remember those making sketches on those planes like we talked about yesterday. You can start a sketch on any plane, like you can start a sketch on the front, on the top, or on the right plane. But what I try to do is when I click on this in between the top, front, and right plane, this is like the default view, clicking on that corner there. So I like my piece to look kind of as it would from face on. So I want my pizza to be lying down. So I want it on this top plane. So I'm going to click on that top plane and start a sketch. So my pizza has to be a triangle, obviously, because it can't be any other shape. And I'm going to do that with the line tool. I'm going to have the corner of my pizza be at the origin. So I'm going to click once at the line tool. I'm going to click over here. And then my second line, I want it to be horizontal. I don't want a weirdly shaped pizza. I want it to be horizontal. We talked about the auto constraint in yesterday's video, but that's kind of how it looks. You can either make a horizontal or a vertical line like that. I want it to be horizontal. And then I want another line that goes right here. Now, the other constraint we talked about yesterday was the equal constraint. So I'm going to go ahead and make this line and this line equal. And then I will go ahead and send out Elie's video on constraints. I mentioned that yesterday, but I don't think we quite sent it out. It's a really good video. And now you can look here as I'm moving the edges of this triangle, we can see it's kind of nicely shaped how I want. But obviously, right, I want a crust. So there's different types of corner rectangles, of rectangles. If you click on these drop downs, you should find different tools. The one we're going to use today is a corner rectangle. There's also different types, like this one's from the center, and then this one you can make based off 3 points, and most tools have different variations. So I invite you to explore and take a look. But I'm going to make a center point rectangle. I'm going to start from this point, go out, and then I want the triangle to go like this. Now, there we see the auto constraint there. See if I hover over that, see how it makes it horizontal to that highlighted point. That's exactly what I want, so I'm going to do that to confirm. You can dimension your parts, but I'm not going to because my pizza is unique and I want to be able to change it. I'm going to rename this sketch to pizza, and then I'm going to extrude it by clicking on both faces. So you can either do is you can do that by clicking on both faces, or you can click pizza to extrude. And I think that's a pretty nice pizza. I think it's a nice. If I had a pizza like this, I'd be very happy. So I'm just renaming this sketch pizza, the extrude pizza. But I want my pizza to have some stuffed crust, obviously, right? So I gotta make a tunnel so I can add the cheese, right? So yesterday we talked about making sketches on planes, and I know you guys will have made sketches on faces too. So great job. But we're gonna make a sketch on this face right here. So I'm gonna click on this face. I'm gonna click sketch. Obviously, I'm gonna rename it. I'm gonna change it to crust. And then I'm going to look at my left view here in that navigation cube that we talked about yesterday. Now, a tool that comes really in handy is the use tool. What do I mean by that? Say I wanted to start a line here, right? You can do that, but there's also a tool called use. And what this will do is it will take other entities and project them into the current plane. So if you look, the crust on that face, it's that type of plane right here. So watch what happens if I use this. See how this line basically gets projected onto the plane and it becomes horizontal like that? It's basically a way to use other existing features. So it's really useful. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the use tool on these four edges like so. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make them construction. So construction lines look a little like this, and they're useful because when you extrude construction lines, it won't treat them as a face. I'll show you what I mean in a second, but I'm going to go ahead and click on these four lines. and make them all construction with this construction tool. Now, basically, when I go to extrude them, these are only there to help me, but they won't get extruded. I won't extrude the face again, if that makes sense. So what I want to do now is I want to make a circle right at the center. And one of the constraints that you guys will see in a moment is the midpoint constraint. Now, as I'm hovering over here, you can see how that little icon shows up, and that will basically make my first point at the center of this line, like that. But that's not what I want. I want my circle to be over here, centered. Now, you can see if I can do the same thing over here with the midpoint over here and make another circle, but that's not what I want. I want a circle that's horizontal with the midpoint of this line and vertical with the midpoint of this line. So the nice thing about Onshape is you can do that. As I hover over the midpoint, I can move it, and you can see now the center of my circle is going to be horizontal with that midpoint. If I keep going, you'll see, if I keep going, now I hover over this midpoint and I bring that down. You can see now that my center of my circle starting horizontal to the midpoint and vertical to the top midpoint. I'm going to click once, and then I'm going to click outward. And now you can see the center of my circle is fully defined. Now I think that's pretty nice, a nice size crust. So I'm going to go ahead and name it crust. I'm going to click extrude. If I go to extrude and I rename this crust, and I click on this sketch, you can see it only does the circle, right? So we can add part of the crust, but I want to remove part of the crust. And instead of making it a dimension, I'm going to change it to through wall. I want it to go through the entire thing. And you can see the merge scope. It's just going to work with that part. Now I'm going to click confirm. Now, last part of my pizza, I need to add some pepperonis. So I'm going to make a sketch on this top face. And I'm going to click sketch here. And I want a neat pattern of pepperoni. Now, on yesterday's sketch, you guys may have used the dimension tool a lot in getting basically all the circles where you want them for the cube, for the die. But today, I want to just use one circle. And you can use the linear pattern tool to create arrays of things. And I'm going to show you just what I mean in a second. So I'm going to start with a nice size pepperoni right here, like so. Let's say maybe make it half an inch. I like that size of pepperoni. I'm going to move it over here a little bit. Now, there's a tool called the linear pattern tool, and I'll show you how that works. I'm going to click on the edge of the circle. I'm going to click linear pattern, and you can see a couple things pop up. Key things to notice are these arrows. This kind of shows the pattern, and then also these show how many of something you want. So you can see how this has times 3, and it's going to have 3 circles. Let's say I want it to be 5. We're going to go crazy. Cool. And now you can use this arrow and click and drag to reshape kind of that pattern. And you can see as I do this, this dimension changes. So it's 0.77. Let's say I want them to be evenly spaced, 0.75 apart from each other. Just like that. And that'll make the center of the circle 0.75 from each other. Now let's say I want, let's say 6 of these. That looks pretty good. That's a lot of pepperoni, but what you can do is click on this arrow to flip the direction. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and now you can see how my pepperoni show up like this. And that looks like a lot of pepperoni. So I'm going to change my 6 to maybe something like a 3, although that's not enough, maybe something like a 4. I'm going to click check mark to confirm. You can see this has an inch spacing between them vertically and 0.75 spacing horizontally. Now that looks pretty good, but I want to add all these pepperoni, and some of these are falling off. So let's see, what can I do? I'm going to move the center of my circle by clicking on this point and moving it around a little bit. That looks pretty good, but some of these pepperoni are getting cut off, which isn't the best in the world. So here is where construction geometry can come into play. I can click on the ones that I want to not include, notably these. And I'm going to go ahead and make it construction. So now, just the ones that are going to get extruded are these top ones, these in the center, one here. And because I don't want our pepperonis to be lonely, I'm going to add some manually here in between, just so our pepperonis aren't lonely. Now I'm going to make them all equal by clicking on all 3 and making them all the same dimension by clicking equal. The ones in the pattern will automatically be equal, but any new ones I add won't. So that looks pretty good. I'm happy with my pepperoni. Now I'm going to change the sketch to pepperoni, and it's really good to name your sketches, especially if you're collaborating with people. And then I'm going to click extrude, And I'm gonna add my pepperoni. I like that size of pepperoni. I'm gonna make it zero point 0.4 inches. And I'm gonna confirm that. And we have PEPPER Oni. I'm going to confirm that. And now you can see we have a wonderful stuffed crust pizza. It looks amazing. Thank you, with a little smiley face going on there too. So, okay, with these tools that you guys, that I've just shown you guys, the linear pattern, the construction tool, and the use tool, you should be in plenty good shape to make today's part. I wish you guys the best of luck and hope that you guys have fun customizing it. Oh, real quick, appearances. You can change appearances. Let's say I want to change, if I right click on this, let's say I want to make it look yellow, right? So it's more pizza. And let's say I want to make all this red pepperoni. I'm gonna click on all this. I'm gonna click on all this. I can right click and I'm gonna edit appearance, add appearance to 22 faces. And I wanna make it bright red pepperoni. And now I can click confirm. And you can see in more detail here, there's an appearance panel and you can play around with this a little bit. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Good luck with today's part.